Howdy team. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how you can get a job once you've got CeMAP'd. I've had so many questions from people from YouTube, from Facebook, from Instagram saying, hey Gary, I've got CeMAP or the equivalent CF qualification. I can't find a job. What do I do? No one wants to employ a trainee. No one wants to bring me on. I'm thinking about becoming an AR. I want to go directly authorized. So I thought it'd just be easier to jump on and answer these questions in a video for you.
Welcome to the Financial Pro Podcast.
So the key thing to remember, if you've gone and done the examinations off of your own back, then that is awesome. You know, you've taken a big step. You've gone through the hardest point. But the difficult bit is the exams teach you bugger all about doing the job. They're the same exams that I did in 2003. And mortgage broking, insurance broking is all practical, logical application. So I hate to, downgrade the exams. I hate to say that the time that you've spent learning, going through the course, sitting the examinations has been wasted pretty much. And that's a bold statement. But they are the same exams that I've always done. And the thing with the industry is, the industry has evolved thanks to the credit crunch, thanks to new regulations like MMR, but the qualifications and the entry point have not. The thing you've got to realize is once you've got the exams, you need to find a trainee role. You need to find somewhere that is going to be able to give you the support, the coaching, the hand-holding, and looking after you to actually get to the point of being a competent advisor. Now, my belief is actually mortgage advice is very transactional. The game has changed massively when it comes to selling or advising on mortgages. The first conversation that you have with a prospect, with a lead, with a potential client is sales, because you're selling yourself, you're selling your service, you're selling your fee. Now, if you're starting out, you probably won't want to charge a fee, but everything else thereafter is not sales. It is administration. You're chasing clients for documents, you're assessing documents, you're going through bank statements and credit reports with a fine-tooth comb. You are filling out fact finds, you're keying data into lenders' systems, you're uploading documentation, you're chasing lenders, solicitors, estate agents, everyone throughout the process. The role that is of an advisor is the first conversation, and then even the recommendation that you make to the client in relation to the interest rate, the lender, the repayment type, all of that is advice. It's not sales. So I believe actually if you really want to maximize your income, you should actually start off being an insurance broker, an insurance advisor. Because when you get qualified, the thing that potentially happens is you get so hell-bent on getting more mortgages that actually you drop the insurance side of things. And it's unethical in most circumstances to arrange a loan for somebody without talking about the insurance, or at least referring them to somebody who can arrange the insurance. Now, I ran an insurance brokerage and built almost a 7-figure insurance brokerage after the credit crunch. Still today in 2021, there is no regulation in the insurance side of things like there is in mortgages. Mortgages, you have to have CeMAP. In the insurance world, you don't technically have to have anything. You just have to have the right supervision. You have to be signed off as competent, and you have to go through the process of making sure that you are able to give accurate advice. Now, in some instances, firms have minimum standards of performance where they want you to do certain insurance-related examinations and qualifications that are available. Now, for the benefit of you, if you don't know this, insurance in my world, or protection, life insurance, critical illness, income protection. When you become a broker and you become a mortgage broker, 60% of your income is going to come from those products. When you arrange a mortgage, You do them at the same time. The first conversation within the first 3 minutes, yeah, I can definitely help you with my mortgage. My process is to also make sure that that debt is protected against the worst, whatever should happen, against the what ifs. On your illustration that I'm going to send you, it says your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up payments on your mortgage. We're going to talk about those issues at a later point, and that's called protection. Now, if you're thinking about getting into this industry and you've got your CeMAP, to coming back to the beginning and the point of the video, the main thing you really want to focus on is finding a job. I believe that to get the best start in this industry, you should start as an employee somewhere with a really good training and mentoring scheme. When I got qualified back in 2003 at the Woolwich, I had my manager sitting in on every first appointment for probably 10, 15 appointments, making sure that I said the right things, I spoke in the right way, I overcome any objections, and I fully completed a fact find. Now, it was much easier back then. There was less information and documentation that was needed. The job is way more administration heavy now. When I went to Alexander Hall in 2004 time, roughly, one of the UK's largest and best brokerages, you know, even though I'd been advising for a year and a half and had done hundreds of mortgages, they still made me go through the same training scheme. It doesn't matter what your experience or your background is. If you want to get good at this job, you've got to do a full and proper job. You have to fully fact find every single client. You need to have a mentor who can talk you through all the different stages and nuances of the advice that you're going to give. And the reason why in my brokerage, Active, we don't take on trainees is because to take somebody from new to good, even to great, takes, I believe, at least 6 to 12 months. And it requires constant attention. You know, you need constant feedback. How did your strategy call go? Your first conversation, your first fact find, your first appointment, whatever you want to call it. You know, how did that go? What happened? And you need to make sure that actually that is reviewed. You then need to have the fact find reviewed after it's completed. You need to have your research double checked. One mentor can realistically only look after 2 advisors for a 6-month period. And that then poses a problem because it means there's no scalability in the growth. You know, it means that you're limited in terms of the number of people that you can support. So this is why it's really hard for you, if you've got CeMAP with no experience, to find a potential job. Because it's so difficult and so time consuming, and a massive part of it's underestimated how long it takes to take somebody from no experience through to experience. Now, everybody has a different learning style. You know, you may learn different to the next person, and everybody has a different pace at which they learn. I am a hugely fast-paced individual. I would much rather sit in a classroom than do an online training course because I get more from it. There's less distractions. But maybe you can relate to this too. And it's vital that you understand the learning style that you're going to be given. There's plenty of firms and organisations out there that promise support and then provide you with none. So here's the thing that you need to do if you want to get a job as a mortgage broker. First of all, remember what I said before. Find a job as an insurance advisor or as a trainee insurance broker. Because if you can master that first, when you start getting busy with mortgages, you'll actually make more money. And the mortgage, I always tell my mentees, hundreds of them, is the lead source to get the insurance. Because that's the thing that actually makes the money for you. Mortgages, when you look at the cost per hour, 20 hours to put a mortgage through. If you do a 100 grand mortgage, you're going to earn 350 quid. What is that all about? Whereas if you go and do an insurance product and you arrange a £50 life insurance policy, critical illness, income protection, you know, you could earn £1,000 for that and it might take you 3 hours. Look at the hourly rate that is involved. The mortgage is the lead source to the insurance. So here's the thing you need to do. Whether it be an insurance or mortgage role, you need to get into a firm. So you need to make sure that you are actually contacting every single firm that is local to you. Go on the Yellow Pages. Yellow Pages, what on earth is that? Go on Google and just Google mortgage brokerages in Essex or mortgage brokerages in the county or town that you are in. And then go old school. Write them a letter. Ring them up, get the MD's name and send him a written letter or a typed up letter with a hand signature. Tell them what, why, how you're going to benefit their business. What's in it for them by taking you on as a trainee? Can they give you a trainee role? Can they give you a foot in the door? Have they got a trainee scheme? There's so many people reach out saying, Gary, I just can't find a job. What are you doing to find one? Oh, I'm looking on the job boards on Indeed. Come on, that's just lazy. If you have that mindset in this job, then you're never going to get anywhere in this job, because this job is hard. Being a broker is hard. Once you get it down in 12, 24 months, it's still a bloody hard job, because there's so many different pieces to the puzzle and nuances and constant criteria changes. Now, COVID and Corona transformed the mortgage industry with new things like furlough, with self-employed people not being able to work for months. Then you've got the stamp duty scheme that was changed. All of these things have knock-on impacts, and it happens consistently. All the time, criteria is changing. Now, there are tools and systems and methods that you can adopt to be able to get better knowledge around the criteria, to help you in streamlining your time revolved around research. But you have to absolutely love the analytical part of being a broker. I love the relationship part. I love the communication. I like the sales element. I don't like the hours of scrawling through paperwork, which is why I made the decision that I would remove myself from my operation and I would focusing on the marketing and the strategy, and I would bring in advisors who are way better than I am at the research, at the trawling through the bank statements, at matching the client's circumstances to the criteria. That is a learned skill. You have to have the brain and the retention power of which lender for this type of client. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as someone who's building an empire which is going to be hundreds of advisors potentially, my focus is on a higher vision and on a higher circumstance. Now, when I was advising in 2016, I was writing 250,000 with one PA. And I continued to do that in 2017 whilst working 1 day less per week, because I invested that time during 2016 learning systems and processes that made me more efficient, that helped my PA to be more efficient. So in 2017, I could work 1 day less and focus on the business, focusing on marketing, strategy, networking, building relationships. Then in 2018, it was very much about what direction do we go? How do we put a system in place to manage the process that we have? And once we put that into place in 2019, I began to recruit advisors. I took 2 advisors on in 2019, one in Wales, one in Worcester. In 2020, I took on 6 advisors based all over the country, as far up as Scotland and as far down as Bromley. And that enabled me then to start beginning to remove myself from the day-to-day operations, putting an operations and sales manager in place, putting an administration manager in place. Your vision has to support your goals in terms of what you want to have for your brand and your business. But your goal, irrespective of whether you want to go and set up your own brokerage and have your name above the door, whether you want to be directly authorized with the FCA or an appointed representative of a network, or whether you want to work in a franchise model, which is what we offer, leads, administration, support, so you can just focus on the advice and the clients. None of that really matters until you are 12 to 24 months into giving advice and doing the job and getting the right support, the right mentoring, and the right coaching. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video and it's answered some common questions for you. If you're not being proactive and finding a job, trying all the different methods available by contacting every firm that is local to you, by posting on social media, by applying to every single thing that's available, then of course you're not going to be successful. But that's also an indication that you might not be successful in this career, because it takes hard graft. Majority of people in this industry earn 40,000 a year. If you want to be exceptional, if you want to be great, if you want to be one of the best, then you have to act like the best. You have to be a world performance athlete who trains every day, who does the hard work, who puts in the hard graft, who surrounds themselves with the right type of people, who's constantly leveling up, who's doing this personal development and personal investment in audiobooks, in podcasts, in mentors, in the right businesses. To give you a bit of context, I started in the Woolwich in 2003. They provided me with no leads because they moved me to a tiny little branch in the middle of Southwood and Ferris. So I moved to Connell's estate agency. But once again, I was at the top of the high street and the car park was at the bottom. So I got no leads because they were all mortgage brokered out before the internet. I then moved to a brokerage in Colchester, where that was actually my first brokerage experience, bank, estate agency, brokerage. But they would have me in Norwich at 9 o'clock at night and then want me back in the office in Colchester at 8 o'clock the next day. I had no life. So I thought I'd give London a go and I stayed there for 8 months. But again, it was first train at 6 o'clock in the morning, last train at 8 o'clock at night. I had no life. And then in 2006, I decided to join a new startup firm in Chelmsford, One Trust Mortgages. And myself, I progressed into being sales and compliance manager. Emma, the other girl that started with me on the day that it started, became administration manager. Pete, the owner of the business, was pretty much in the cinema every single day, but he was in charge of the lead generation. And us three took that business to £100,000 a month within the space of 11 months. And that was an indication for me in 2006 that I should go self-employed. And I borrowed £2,500 to kick it off with my dad. Or from my dad to then kick off my self-employment. And I repaid that within the first 3 months of being self-employed. So here's the key thing from the moral of that story. Bank, estate agency, brokerage, London brokerage, working for somebody else in the space of 3 to 4 years before I went self-employed. That is why I would classify that I am a really good broker. That is why I'm good at sales, good at building relationships, because I did the job properly. I invested in my education to become a master at my craft before I made the jump to going self-employed. So put in the graft, find the right job, contact everybody you possibly can, and you will be successful. But you have to be knocking on the doors. Mortgage brokering, insurance brokering is a numbers game. If you can't play the numbers game to go and find a job, then you're never going to earn more than 40 grand in this industry. Thanks very much indeed for tuning in. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. You leave me with a comment below with any questions and concerns that you might have. And I remember, look forward to speaking to you on another video. Now's the time to become pro.